record started.
Nice. Hi, and everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Green Reviews Working Group. So, as a CNCF meeting, we abide by the code of conduct, which can be summarized to everyone be excellent to each other. I don't think that we have any new members today. So, I guess let's get started. The idea for today's meeting was to go over implementation work for proposal 2, and then I think we have a lot of discussion to do about proposal 3, and if we can also calibrate for our KubeCon, what we need to have for that. And I had one more update about doing a talk for, well, I'll get to that later. So shall we get started with proposal 2? I know, Valeria, you've been looking into the issue for the, let's see, I can share my screen actually.
Yeah, then the 118 about adding the benchmark path field. I know Ross left a comment on the pull request. I didn't have time today to look at that, but I plan to go through the comment. I don't know if I have time later or tomorrow. But yeah, within the next few days, I can go through that.
Yes, so thank you, Valeria, for creating the pull request. Yeah, this is looking really good. There was just a couple of points I had, but also I only just reviewed it just before the meeting as well. So whenever you have a chance to get to it, we do have a bit of a challenge because we have 2 tickets that are related. We wanted to break the work down into smaller kind of tasks. And so the issue that Valeria is working on is adding the benchmark to the pipeline. And then we have a separate issue that Mitch is going to take to package the 3 Falco benchmarks into our workflow. And so we kind of need to have those kind of workflows ready to go, and we can add them. And yeah, just sort of Valeria, my only other comment was just that we have this project trigger, and this is the script that we kind of run in Chrome that has the different inputs. And we just need to add the benchmark path as an input there as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, yeah. Otherwise, it looks great. I think we just, once that part's addressed and once we have the Falco benchmarks packaged up, then we can merge it and we can get the changes integrated. But yeah, thanks. It's great to get started on this. So we're starting the implementation of the second requirement.
Would it go here, like with below this, the?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So yeah, we have the project.json file, which is what we kind of pass here, and we just get inputs, and we just need to add the benchmark path as another input.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, and so yeah, the second issue is the packaging, of the benchmarks. But I think that's kind of where we are for proposal 2. So maybe we should kind of move on and start discussing proposal 3. Yeah, unless there's more questions on proposal 2.
I was wondering for this task, this is blocked by the first issue. Yes, okay, got it. Sorry, it took me a moment. Right, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So that's the kind of issue that we've got more granular issues, but then it means we have the dependency between them.
Yeah.
But see, once the second issue is kind of implemented, then we can integrate with Jenkins.
And with Falco, with changing what we have currently to match the new benchmark workflow in Falco, how I think those are not assigned yet, right?
We discussed it in the last meeting, and Mitch was
sorry.
going to to work on it.
Okay.
But I just asked him to comment on the issue, and then I can assign him. I just until he posts on the issue, I don't have permissions to assign him. But I think he wanted to work on this. But I can also sync with him, if he has any questions or there's any parts that are still not clear here. But yes, for this second one is we have the 3 manifests that the Falco team produced, and we just need to package those up into a workflow.
Perfect. Nice, amazing. Thank you, Valeria, and thank you, Ross, for coordinating the implementation of Proposal 2. I think we can, talk about Proposal 3. I know, Antonio, you had some updates.
Yes, maybe it's easier if you bring already the pull request, which is in the draft mode. We can go over those.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically, the first the first implementation of this draft was done by Chris, and this is a list of the first one you open is a list of steps that are needed to basically deploy our stack locally. And then I thought, okay, this is very useful, but it's just not part of Proposal 3. So I created the local setup folder in which to save this information, and later we can think better how to structure it. But it's just I think the steps that they followed through to recreate this locally could be also interesting for other people. So better to save it somewhere. I just created a random folder inside to save this and move it from the proposal. And then for the proposal itself, I started writing some parts, and also trying to document. So the first part is boilerplate about the other steps, and then here in the summary I tried to describe the points that Proposal 3 should tackle. So the first one I think is to choose a first set of metrics that are going to be stored for this release of the green review. And then once we have the metrics that we want to be stored chosen, then we can proceed into describing the set of actions that are needed to actually do the Proposal 3. So the sub actions which I identified could be collect, store, and share. And then for each sub step, we should describe how to implement and why. So then I tried to list some known goals. These also are open for suggestions, but I think we do agree that we don't create metrics from scratch, or we don't do aggregation of existing metrics or provide any kind of analytics for the moment. And also the integration with the CNCF DevStat is out of this proposal. And then I tried to identify 3 user stories that could work for this scenario. So I think the CNCF project maintainer should select the project-related metrics. So it's something that they might be interested in. Yeah, it's something that they might be interested in. Like, for example, if they want to monitor some other metrics that they want to, be that they want to see from this process. That's a question from Leo. Yeah, like the idea of how to implement this is sort of like for now, basically, we know which kind of metrics Falco wants. So like they gave us a list, and I think for the future we need to understand to what level we want to it's like to bring automation to this step, and yeah, like to see if that also depends on how we want to collect. So but I'll get into that later. So this is the part that I've not finished yet. This is just like the high level user story. So yeah, like maybe define is better than select. I also wrote this bit quick, but you can already edit. And then yeah, like similarly to this CNCF project maintainer metrics, we have our green review sustainability related metrics, and as green review we would also like to change these metrics as much over time, and then in the end, like the project maintainer should be able to see and check the metrics for their project. So this is also just a draft about what could be the user stories. Feel free to add, modify in the PR, like anything you have in mind, and add your suggestions. Then I also tried to list a couple of risks and mitigations related to this proposal, which I think, like one is this consistency versus flexibility. So if we change the metrics over time a lot, maybe it will be difficult to compare different metrics like historically. However, like we'd rather be flexible in this first phase if it leads to more correct results. And then, the three sub-steps of the proposal, I think are like dependent. Leo?
I think like the risks with consistency is a very good one. So one thing which definitely will change is the software, right? So if the software changes, we can also expect that the measures or the measurements that we take also change or should change. That would be interesting. So if, for example, there are some changes and our measurements do not change, that would also be interesting. I mean, this can also be like part of like something in the future, right? But just connecting the results back to the changes in the software and then elaborating with this why there's like a change.
I think that's a very good point for the output of the metrics. So we can connect somehow the output of the metrics that we have to some release of the green review, so that it's easy to see how these metrics were produced in terms of software and also collection. Well, that's a good point. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, like one thing that probably we could do is with each run pipeline execution, there should be like some kind of link to the PR or release at least. And then we have like a list of changes or something. So people can track it down at least.
That's a really good point. We can add like a column with the release that has all the details on how the metrics have been produced.
And then maybe like in terms of consistency, there's it's like the question, because you said, what if we change like how we calculate the metrics? So the question is if it's too overkill, too much, if we add like some kind of versioning or some kind of like anything like this. So because if we have, for example, like the SEI score, for example, but we do some changes how we calculate it, it would be good to kind of so that everybody is aware that this is like the version 1 of how we calculate these things, or some kind of feedback. Otherwise, like this change is kind of hidden, and then maybe that's not good. But I don't know.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, those are like two very good points. If you can drop a comment into the PR, so that we have it saved somewhere, and then I'll try to incorporate this into the proposal.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, like maybe also like one more risk, obvious risk would be the defined metrics are not sufficient to make an assessment about the sustainability footprint. Right.
This is just our take, or like our first take. But definitely not as extensive.
But something we could add. We don't need to do like something about it right now, or we can have like a cheap way out and say right now this is like the responsibility of everybody that defines the metrics, and that's not us, that's the maintainers. But still, I can comment something.
Great.
I wanted to also bring up on the side of the metrics, when we say, I think I would like to see more of a distinction between like metrics versus test, like the output, because metrics can be the Prometheus metrics, for example, like the metrics that we get from Prometheus, or the metrics are kind of a constant because, for example, if latency is used as a metric, that stays the same. But I think I would like to see more description of the test output and the outcome of the test. Does that make sense? To like split when we talk about metrics versus like the outcome of the tests?
Yeah. I think what you like, now that I think about it, maybe a step which is missing is like collect, compute, store, share. Because as you said, like it might be that like with the collected metrics we want to compute something. So yeah, I think it would be good to add an extra sub-step, which is like compute, and then like this is also something that could change. As you said, like metrics, the base metric could be the same, but then we could change some details on how we compute the final sustainability score.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's also a good point.
So for example, if we like reverse engineer what we have right now with the Grafana dashboard, we have the SCI score. We have, how many variables are there? Like 4? I don't remember, 4 or 5. And we have a Prometheus query or a static variable for each one of the elements of the SCI index. So I imagine that we want to store the query or the variable and the calculation so that, that part is all computation, because we use metrics to surface some information, then we do some querying, some computation around it, and then we have the test output. So I think we need to like break down the different stages a bit more. I'm happy to help with that.
Yeah, definitely a compute step is missing.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have that compute step. And also, I think that there is extending on what you were saying as well. I think having some kind of metadata as well, which for a start could just be the version of the platform, but might also be other versions we're interested in, like maybe the version of Kepler has changed. So as well as those outputs, it might be useful to start capturing some metadata as well for that step.
Where would you see this metadata stored? Like, it depends also on how we store it, but yeah, like some kind of metadata, it's clear.
Yes, I'm just thinking with Impact Framework, they have this manifest file and it has kind of metadata as well that does like a similar thing. So that's just got me thinking maybe we could have something that, with that. So we have whatever output format we have, and we have the metrics that came as the inputs, whatever the outputs were, and then also just some metadata that we can, extend over time.
What really helped in proposal 2, and what Flavia and I actually spent a really long time on, was the terminology section. So in proposal 2, the definitions, this is really, like we spend a lot of time looking at what we have already and then drafting like how the next things fit, and then writing definitions for each one, and what the proposal adds to it. So I think having a definitions section would help a lot, just to talk about the new components and identify the new components, exactly what we were just saying.
Yeah, I think I started like trying to have this definition of the different steps. But yeah, I forgot to put a separate section for the definition. Maybe we should put it into the proposal template as well.
Good point. Yeah.
All right.
We can pair. Yeah, we'll find time to pair. I think tomorrow or Friday would be the best for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can, or should I open up pull request again? Actually, I don't think I can do that because it's on Chris's personal.
No, like the repo is public, so anyone can push to his repo.
Okay.
But we can still pair up on Friday. Happy to do that. Okay, to maybe conclude, like keep in mind this is like my first I just like set some time and yeah, first draft. So it's still very early phases of this proposal.
Yeah. It's a tough one because we need some kind of long-term storage. I think we'll get there. We just need to keep adding information and keep thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, then what was missing? Yeah, like the second challenge was that I tried to highlight is that the collect step, the storage step, and the share step are quite related to each other. So what we want to collect and in what format depends on how do we store it, and how do we store it depends also on like how we want to share it. So yeah, like it might be that we might change like combination of those quite often. It's a bit more up, is still in the section above. That's the second risk. If you scroll up, yes, this is the second point here. 193. And then I also wanted to highlight here that yeah, most probably we'll take a first solution that will be a bit lean, but yeah, like most likely we'll improve it in the future. And yeah, just to be practical and not to overkill it with a lot of complexity. Then I tried to, yeah, for each of these steps, I tried to detail a bit. For the metrics, I remember that we had already the list of metrics that Falco decided, so I just listed the metrics that we have already in mind, that we're already collecting. Not sure if this is enough, if can or should be updated. And then that's basically where I stopped. And for the other steps, I only have question marks here and there. So how to store them and how to share them, like we were discussing yesterday with Nikki and Ross, that would be maybe useful to follow the same approach that the CI Kepler project is taking. I can link same link that we shared yesterday with each other, which is this one. And yeah, basically having something as simple as a markdown file that can be visualized like this. So I guess the one of the downside is that you lose all the fancy things that you can do in Grafana. But yeah, maybe the good part is that it won't take a lot of time to implement. And yeah, maybe for the start, that would be good enough. I don't know what you think about it. But yeah, basically these are open points we need to further detail. So from here on, it's open discussion.
Yeah, so well, the way I see it is we need a long-term storage, like even this, where in this scenario, Kepler has their CI pipeline add append to the markdown file. Now the thing is how we integrate this kind of simple long-term storage with the Grafana dashboard, or can we replace the Grafana dashboard with something like this, because essentially if we have the hard-coded values and the Prometheus queries as part of the GitHub action, as part of the benchmark workflow, then we might not need the Grafana dashboard. So it's like, what's the added value of having the dashboard other than like it's a nice visualization, I think, and it can have like, yeah, you can have the SCI illustrated better. I think it would still provide value to have that integration. But this is something I don't take anything for granted. So like, yeah, what's people's feedback on this?
I'm a bit late.
Hi, Faya.
I lost track of time. I was doing some work. But no, what I was thinking about this, I think depends what people want to do with the data. I think it's nice that it's simple, only it kind of ends there, and it's really I don't know, people are used to looking at a lot of nice colorful dashboards and stuff, and this is like, okay, is anyone going to look at it if it doesn't give such a big impression? Like, can you compare easily one deploy to another, or one deploy from January to, you know what I mean? So can you see trends? No, I mean, and it's not so easy to but I don't want to throw stones because that's awful. But like, if you want to do something with it afterwards, it's a bit yeah, too simple, I think. If it's but we can also say, okay, we make it into something readable like JSON, and we can easily put it on GitHub on Markdown and process it for something else. But because I don't have like a clear suggestion what to do, but it feels like a bit limiting. I mean, if for example we would yeah, Prometheus, I'm also working with Prometheus with other things, and it's also has its limitation, but at least you have the data. But yeah, I shut up now.
No, you make a good point. So whatever we use as long-term storage, whether it's the markdown file, JSON, or an S3 bucket, yeah, what other option we have? We have Minio, Ozone. I don't really know these. And the license issue is also a good point. So then we need, yeah, to integrate with Grafana. Although Grafana has a lot of like options for data sources that I don't know super well. But it can read from a lot of different sources.
Can it also read from an SQL database?
Yeah.
Okay.
That for sure.
This is like small data probably, and we could also run our own database to, I don't know. Yeah, too complicated. There are plenty of operators for running structured databases.
Mimir?
I don't think it's very complicated to operate the database ourselves. It's rather a question of like, do we want to handle all the schema management, history, and yeah, like updates of the table possible. Yeah, then what happens if we lose the volume? So we were discussing this with Ross as well. So like we would need to, for example, have always a backup of the Equinix disk. Otherwise, we lose all the data if we keep it in the database. But it should not be a problem to host it in our Kubernetes cluster too much. I do agree with you, Flavia, that yeah, like I think the level at which we are used for metrics is quite high, and probably Grafana provides a lot of nice integration. So might be worth it to have it there, and to think from the beginning to keep the integration with Grafana. And then then the problem is quite simple, right? Like if we can collect the metrics via some Prometheus query, then we do our computation, we save it somewhere. Question being, okay, is it better to have a SQL or no SQL with a JSON? Open question. And then yeah, like we share it in Grafana. This would do for me.
Yes, from the cluster point of view, I do like the idea of having kind of a copy of the metrics for long-term storage that's outside of the cluster. But we do also have options if we, if you want to stay with Prometheus and Grafana, to back up, let's say, the Prometheus to S3. We already have the S3 backup we have that we use for the open tofu state, but we could probably, use backups, use that for storing backups as well. Yeah, my concern also is, I think, like with Kepler, they're only collecting kind of a few metrics there, but when we kind of define the kind of definitions of what data we want to store, if there's going to be quite a lot of data, then I think like Markdown files or even JSON files might be a bit cumbersome.
Would anyone, like, I know this, Antonio and I and Chris are pairing on proposal 3, but would anyone like to look into this? Maybe we can share the load. Like this specific question.
Yeah, like I also thought about like if we have what I would not like why I would not like S3 to use S3 buckets for long-term storage is just that like I imagine the scenario in which we would like, for example, to at some point measure like our pipeline or like how sustainable is our pipeline, right? Like what is the amount of carbon that we need to measure a project? And then like if we would like to track this over time, and we would also like would like to consider, okay, like how much energy are we using to operate the database, like and like store the data there, and this kind of stuff. If we have an external service for the storage, that we cannot answer those questions easily. Whereas like if we keep in the Kubernetes, if we keep everything in this Kubernetes space, we can use Kepler to answer all of those. I don't know if it was clear.
Yeah, but then that means that the S3 bucket then comes out of reach. I don't, yeah, I think, I don't know if it's a trade-off, right? Like either we host something ourselves so that we can have that ability, or we use a hosted service like S3.
I can investigate the long-term storage part and also see what our options are in terms of backups if we store the data within the cluster. If we are doing that, I think, I mean, for the OpenToggler, for example, we went with the AWS S3 bucket because it was kind of the most practical, because we could use the AWS account, from CNCF, and we could use that for the storage. Because my worry is if we use something like Minio, for example, we might need another Equinix node to host it. And then we're kind of managing more Equinix infrastructure, and we're running more on Equinix. Whereas I think if we can, it'd be nice also to kind of reduce our footprint a bit on Equinix where we can. But if it helps as part of the other part of the proposal, I can take a look at the long-term storage part.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, what would be the best choice that we would host ourselves and that we don't have a licensing issue with?
Yes, yeah, I'm happy, to investigate it and also to see what the trade-offs are, because I think, there are going to be those trade-offs. But if we have that in the proposal, then we can, cover, which is the best option for that part.
Sounds good. Well, I'm gonna add that. What I wanted to talk about as well is the target that we could set for ourselves for KubeCon. I know we've talked about, like proposal 3, having the proposal 3 at least have a final version of proposal 3 and the implementation. We have 2 months. I think that if everything we do from now on is finish the implementation of proposal 2 and then focus on proposal 3, I think or hope we can make it. We have a lot of information that we've gathered over the past months to have alignment between us. So I think that we can make it. At least let's have that as the goal. What do you all think?
Yeah. So trying to have proposal 2 implemented and proposal 3 defined, right? Like for KubeCon, but not implemented.
I was gonna say implemented as well.
Okay.
But maybe that's at least let's focus on finding something that works. So definitely finalized. And we'll see about the implementation.
Yeah, I think the complexity of the being realistic on the implementation depends a lot on the complexity of proposal 3. So for example, if proposal 3, like say we go with SQL and we need to spin up the operator and then like make sure that SQL is running and then find some we need to do the computation from scratch, the collection part, and then it might be that 2 months are not enough, but also depends like how many people gonna help out. So let's see. I would say let's make it tentative for KubeCon NA to have proposal 3 implemented. I would agree.
Yes, yeah. I think when we come to implementing proposal 3, we might just need to cut the scope because it's not a huge amount of time. But maybe we could do something like updating the performance dashboard or outputting the results as part of the pipeline run. So I think to continue on proposal 3, but we might just need to split it and defer some of the work until after KubeCon. But if we can have that kind of stretch goal of showing it, I think that would be great to show a KubeCon.
Yeah, and if we have proposal 3 finalized in terms of writing it, and we can then break that into separate issues, then KubeCon NA can be like a call out for volunteers to help with the implementation. I think now we can put our minds together to write the proposal, and then we can, like, if we know what we need to do, which is like the hardest part, deciding what to do, then splitting it into implementation tickets and helping like new contributors, that I think that we can do even after KubeCon NA. Okay, so let's see how that goes. We'll do our best. We are always doing our best. It is a busy time for everybody. I know I'm also juggling like 5 different projects. So yeah, we're all doing our best. What I wanted to mention is that I was thinking of doing, well, with a sustainability week coming up in a month. I think I'm gonna do a talk summarizing and like introducing the Green Reviews working group at the Barcelona meetup, and maybe that can help to, like, the slides could help for the KubeCon maintainer talk that the TAG is doing. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know if anyone here is also going to talk about the Green Reviews working group as part of Sustainability Week, but maybe you can help each other with slides and content, and that will also help our colleagues who will be presenting the Green Reviews working group at KubeCon.
Yeah, I also heard with a colleague, we are going to present in the Sustainability Week in Amsterdam. So yeah, we can work, share and try to help each other with that.
Yeah, okay, so to hand over to working group comms. Cool. Yeah, I'm not attending KubeCon NA, so I'm just gonna help like with this, and then hand over to Siam and Marlo, like any slides or content, and with Flavia's help also, since Flavia will also be presenting about this. Yeah, Leo?
I think there's also the like last time we had during the Cloud Native Sustainability Week, the virtual meetup. I think this is also happening this time. I think I saw an issue. I'm not sure like what the plans are. If it's like the same as last year, maybe Valeria, you know a bit more. Not sure. But if it's somewhat like last year, I believe there was also a presentation of each working group. So potentially that would be the case this time as well. So we could also talk about this working group. But but I can find out where it is. I think Alessandro and Nancy opened up Sessionize, so people can hand in like any of the talks. Yeah, maybe it's like in discussion. Yeah, maybe it's not like finalized yet. We will see. Sessionize. There it is.
So does that mean we want green reviews to be presented?
Yeah, maybe we
Yeah.
can. Yeah, maybe we can talk with Nancy about it and Julie, what their thoughts are. Maybe there's like an introduction, and just one of the slides is about this working group, and then we can just provide like some information, or maybe it's a bit more, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer talk. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If let's see. I guess.
Yeah, let me write. I can write in the Cloud Native Sustainability Week channel what their plans are, representing the tag progress and projects and working groups and so on. You see.
At last KubeCon, we also did a really cool blog post, but that was quite a bit of work. I don't know if we will have time for everything. And maybe we can save it for KubeCon Europe. All right, well, I think that we have quite a bit for us for our next steps. We have 4 minutes, but maybe we can end a little earlier. Does anyone have any last comments, questions? Maybe not. Okay, then no. Then I'll see you all online and see you all very soon. Have a good rest of the week, and thank you for joining us today.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.